All right, we have one more very honorable speaker. Jean-Luc Pierite. He is from a much warmer place than this, New Orleans, Louisiana. He's a member of the Tunica-Biloxi tribe. He holds a BA in Humanities and had a co-major in Mass Communication, and he was elected to a seat on CoLang, which is an institute for collaborative language research. And the person that led him there was his great-grandfather, Joseph. He was the last traditional chief and medicine man of the Tunica-Biloxi. He serves as president of the North American Indian Center of Boston, Massachusetts, the oldest Indian center which has been providing cultural and social services for New England Native communities for over 50 years, and we are really blessed to have him here.
So as is our practice at the North American Indian Center of Boston, before we speak, we want to it is our duty to recognize the land that we are standing on, the land that holds us, the land that sustains us. And here in closer to central Massachusetts, western Massachusetts, we recognize this land as traditional indigenous territory of Nipmuc Nation, who continue to this day in part through their lineal descendants, Chabannagungamug, a band of Nipmuc Indians, Nipmuc Nation, and all the peoples throughout central Massachusetts going into Connecticut. And why do we recognize the land? We recognize the land because we are making agreements with our host tribes. And one such agreement is to support every effort by the tribes for the repatriation of land and natural resources back to the original peoples. So I want you to join with me in that agreement today. I want you to affirm to improve your relationships with the Nipmuc people, with the Wampanoag people, with the Abenaki, with the Massachusetts, with all of the peoples across the confederacies that have had government-to-government relationships with the so-called Massachusetts, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Bay Colony, the province of Massachusetts, all of those different tribes throughout New England. Educate yourselves on whose land you are standing on and who do you need to have relationships with today. Yeah, so my name is Jean-Luc Pierite. I'm originally from New Orleans. And as president of the North American Indian Center of Boston, we do provide cultural and social services to the New England Native American community. But also, what does that mean here locally? What does that mean for the issues that we're discussing, the history that we're discussing? Because you can go out to Minnesota, you can talk to the Anishinaabe, and you can say that you're from Massachusetts, and they will say, oh, we have relations out there in Massachusetts because we're connected. We're connected by our languages, we're connected by blood, we're connected by the waters. I see this banner here, Enbridge committing ecocide. All of the pollution that is going into the headwaters of the Mississippi River, how that goes down the river into my own home territory of Louisiana, and it impacts those communities there. But then also thinking about protections for the Gulf of Mexico, for which the Mississippi River runs into. The Gulf of Mexico, which had millions of acres auctioned off after President Biden returned from COP26. What does that say? What does that say about this administration's priorities for improving relationships with indigenous peoples here in the so-called United States? What does that say for the Army Corps of Engineers, which has to take the lead from that administration? What does that say for all of us? It is our duty to press upon this federal government to improve relationships with indigenous nations and to fully honor the treaties.
Yes.
And so that is why we are here today calling for an environmental impact statement, not just that acknowledges, you know, the local governments, state governments, but tribal governments as well. Where is the tribal consultation data in those environmental impact statements? How are the tribes included in all of these processes? How is the concern for the wild rice and the lifeways of the Anishinaabe people? How are they considered? How are we even included in all of this? And let me just say, consultation does not equal consent, because we need free, prior, and informed consent before anything happens on our lands.
Exactly.
You know, I was sitting here and I was kind of remarking on how our friends here, you know, they're very kindly reminding us not to step on the property. But how does the Army Corps of Engineers tell Enbridge, stay off of tribal lands? The diligence that we are experiencing today is the same diligence that needs to be scaled up, and we need our lands protected, we need our waters protected, and more. Because the traditional knowledge of indigenous peoples is the solution, the real solution. Not talking about carbon markets or net zero, but the real solution is going to come from the people. It is going to come from the women and the children that have paid for this fight for so long. Talking about missing and murdered indigenous women. Talking about all of the children that we lost to residential and boarding schools, just for the simple right of speaking their own languages and affirming the knowledge that they learned in the homes. And so for all of those people, all of the lands, all of the non-humans that we are standing here for, let us affirm our agreements with our host tribes, and again, press upon this federal government to fully honor and respect the rights of the indigenous peoples.
Yes.
And the treaties. Thank you.
Thank you.